We have decades of knowledge on ways to prevent, treat, and reverse diseases naturally. I was floored when I learned that. Even the American Medical Association put out a resolution in 2017 saying you doctors need to learn lifestyle medicine and apply it because the data is that strong. When I was in medical school, the thought of putting type 2 diabetes into remission was kind of like the Jetsons, like sci-fi. But now we can often do that with lifestyle medicine.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Measuring Post. Joe Massa here, in a place where we can learn and grow together. And it seems lately we've been talking a lot about patient health, advocacy, and taking care of yourself, not only mentally, spiritually, but physically as well. So I brought on another amazing guest today. This woman has been featured on CNN. She's a physician and patient advocate, founder of Patient Empowerment 101, that focuses on helping people better understand and how to navigate the healthcare system. She's also a podcast host and an advocate for patients becoming active participants in their own medical care. So with me today, please welcome Dr. Ann Hester to the Measuring Post. Dr. Ann, how are you today?
I'm too blessed to complain. How are you today?
I'm doing quite well, thank you. I appreciate you coming on the show and really look forward to learning more about your book and sort of what it is that you do to help people navigate the healthcare system. So with that in mind, tell me a little bit about sort of your background. What brought you to this point in your career?
Well, I have two hats. I practiced internal medicine for decades, so I'm a board-certified internist. Most of the time was spent at the bedside in the hospital and the ER, so I was a hospitalist for many years. And then I learned about lifestyle medicine, and I thought, this is awesome. Instead of just giving people drugs when they get the disease, we have decades of knowledge on ways to prevent, treat, and reverse diseases naturally. I was floored when I learned that. Even the American Medical Association put out a resolution in 2017 saying you doctors need to learn lifestyle medicine and apply it because the data is that strong. I'm talking decades of data. When I was in medical school, the thought of putting type 2 diabetes into remission was kind of like the Jetsons, like sci-fi. But now we can often do that with lifestyle medicine. And also I had some kids who were growing up. So I pivoted from clinical medicine. I came home, I do administrative medicine, health coaching, empowerment courses, podcasting, and so forth.
Yeah, I love it. And there's so many pieces of truth in what you just said. We're often told to treat, well, it's not even that we're told, but we sort of go through the motions where we're only treating symptoms of what happens to us. And we never get to the root cause. And a lot of that is what we eat, how we sleep, how we recover, the things we do and put into our bodies that have a much more profound effect than simply popping a pill when something is going on or, trying to, balance your insulin levels. And obviously it goes much deeper than that. But for someone that doesn't really know who you are, the way you just explained what you do is very powerful because you're getting to the core of what's really causing a lot of that. So would you say that's more of a spin on sort of Eastern versus Western medicine, or sort of incorporating the two, or more just using the resources we have in a more beneficial way for the patient?
Using the resources we have, because lifestyle medicine, the pillars of lifestyle medicine, which I'll get into shortly, they're free. They're just basically talking about things that we can do naturally, no cost. Common sense sort of things that we often don't do because we're so focused on the stress. I've got to do this. I've got to go there. I can't because I have a project due tomorrow. I can't eat a healthy diet because I don't have the time. And there is a fast food restaurant on the way home. I don't exercise because I'm so busy working. And so these pillars are just based on things that we can do naturally. And actually this morning, I was on a lifestyle medicine conference on food. And a lot of people don't know about epigenetics. So basically, for those who don't know, epigenetics deals with our body's ability to turn on and turn off certain genes. And most of the DNA, he said 95% of our DNA is like what we call the epigenome, the background. Only 5% is made up, of genes. And so the background is determining how to express those genes. And so he cited a study of men with prostate cancer. And I'm pretty sure it was Dean Ornish was the doctor who did the study. But essentially, they gave them a whole food, plant predominant diet. And then they did studies and they saw that the tumor suppressor genes, they lit up. And the genes that were meant to fight cancer, they blossomed just by being on a whole food, plant predominant diet. And so that's just the tip of the iceberg because a lot of people think, oh, it's in my genes. I'm getting older. It's going to happen. Most of what happens to us is based on the habits that we choose, not just the genes. Think 5% of your DNA is your genes, and the rest of it is the background that determines if the genes are turned off or on. So you have genes that promote health. You have genes that predispose toward disease. And which of those genes is expressed, you have a tremendous amount of control over.
Yeah, I've heard that. And as I'm getting older myself, I really notice that what I put into my body has a tremendous effect on positively or negatively affecting not only like my weight, but my energy, my mood, how I'm feeling, how I sleep. And I love that you mentioned sort of that built-in excuse. Well, I'm just too busy to work out. I don't want to go spend a bunch of money in getting, healthy groceries and buying organic
Oh,
products, but you'll then go out to a dinner and spend twice as much as you would on the groceries for a single meal that's not healthy, but you can't afford healthy groceries. And we sort of are predisposed to building those I would say excuses into our
mhm.
lifestyle. And really when you make the switch to starting to eat healthy, exercising regularly, all of a sudden you go, I can't believe I didn't do this before. And I would never go back. And it doesn't mean
Yeah.
you won't have treats or a cookie or something, but like once you like eliminate something toxic from your lifestyle, whether it's eating too much sugar, sodas, you never miss it. When you go back to it, you go, that is gross. Why did I ever like that? So I'm sure you see a lot of that from your, career in the medical industry. But I have a couple questions about that because I've had recently multiple doctors come on to the show and they talk about sort of this expectation when they got into medicine, they're there to help people, they want to learn everything, they want to be a healer. And then they get into the industry and a lot of them have found that what they were doing was not really actually healing anybody. It was prolonging illnesses or sort of perpetuating it and covering it up with other pills and pharmaceuticals.
Yes, absolutely. So basically, there's a lot of money to be made by promoting these healthy quick fixes. Tremendous amount of money to be made. You have the marketing companies making money. You have the food manufacturers making money. And then you have Big Pharma that says, okay, now you've listened to the marketing, you've eaten the foods, you have these diseases. Here's a pill. It can help you some. It can help you live longer despite the disease that is tearing away at your body. And so lifestyle medicine does the opposite. Instead of coming in at the tail end, like, well, damage is done. Here's the expensive drug that may have side effects that maybe your insurance company won't cover. Just see if it can make you live longer. In lifestyle medicine, the goal is to prevent, treat, and to reverse it as much as possible in the beginning. That's not saying that if you follow all of the pillars of lifestyle medicine, you'll never get disease. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that the risk plummets. And even if you have certain conditions, there's a strong chance that you can manage that condition better with lifestyle medicine and you might not need as much medication. And I want to go back to something you said about people say, I can't afford organic foods. The first thing is organic foods can be expensive, but you don't have to do everything organic. EWG, Environmental Working Group, EWG.org has a list of Dirty Dozen and Clean 15. And so if you look at the Dirty Dozen, you want to get those in an organic form. The Clean 15 are less likely to have all the harmful chemicals. And so if you're on a budget, get them in the non-organic form because they're relatively clean, but the Dirty Dozen, spend your money there. And as far as not spending the money, think about investing. I like to tell people to find your vision and then act with precision. You want to live long. You want to have time with your family, your grandkids. You want to travel, do all of these things after you retire, 50, 60, 70, whatever the case may be. But if you invest so much upfront on the things that will help you make it that way, then you're more likely to be able to enjoy that life. But if you don't spend time and effort focusing on being healthy when you're 50, 60, 70, all that money you put aside may be going toward medical bills, and you may not be able to travel and enjoy life because you're sick so often.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. And there's the old adage I've said on this show before. It's make time for your health now, or take time for your illness later in life.
Yes.
And there's so much truth to that. And you're right. It's no guarantee that, I could do everything right. You hear about the people that exercise every day. They never smoke. They never drink. They still
Mhm.
get cancer. They still get
Yes.
that can happen. So this is not, and it shouldn't be taken as this following this system will make you live forever. You're right. Where none of us are immune to that,
Mhm.
but there is so many things you can do to bring quality to your life and to your health and your mobility, even, thinking about not necessarily internal, illnesses, but if you never move, if you're not physically active, eventually you get to the point where your legs don't work, your hips don't work, your knees don't work. And
Mhm.
then going on those trips that you're talking about, they're next to impossible because you're not mobile anymore. So there's a whole side of health, physical, mental, spiritual, that I'm assuming we're going to talk about a little bit coming up with your pillars of health, system that you got. But what was sort of the birth of Patient Empowerment 101, which is your best-selling book? And obviously, here's something I think is really important. There is a big lack or gap in communication from the healthcare system to the average Joe, like myself. A lot of us we don't feel like we know how to navigate this system. And you really sometimes need somebody to hold your hand and tell you what you can and can't do. Because if you're waiting for a hospital or a doctor to like step in and advocate for you on your behalf, you're going to be waiting a long time. You really have to advocate for yourself. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Now, the book, Patient Empowerment 101, more than a book, is an adventure. It's not a bestseller yet, but I'm hoping one day we'll be having this conversation and I'll say, hey, thank you for putting that out there because we're there now. But this came about because of exactly what you said. There's a huge disconnect between the way doctors think and the way patients think. We were raised in a society that the doctor would say, this is what you do. Actually, it went so far, the mindset was the house of God. In medical school, there was a book called The House of God. I didn't want to read it, but a lot of people did because people viewed doctors like as a step under God. We go to school a long time, we miss sleep and all sorts of other things, do the training, but we're no different from everybody else. Before we went to medical school, we didn't know these terms. We were just like everybody else. And so I noticed over and over and over when I would talk to people, I may ask a question and then they're, well, Uncle George was in town and it may have happened. Oh, no, because they were never given the tools that they need. So I created the book, Patient Empowerment 101, to teach people multiple things. Number one, how to think when you first get sick. You don't want to wait till you're on a cold examining room table. You're mad at the doctor because he's an hour late again and you're going to be really late to your meeting. And then he starts throwing questions out and you're thinking, you have to think on your feet. And then the doctor's like, my next patient is having pain. I've got to go. Let me order these tests and procedures and try this medicine and come back to see me if it doesn't help. That's happened so many times, I cannot even begin to explain it to you. And on the other hand, to be fair, if you have a doctor who has 25 people booked for the day, and some people may have some potentially serious conditions, you've got to try to get to the point as soon as you can to go and help the next person. So it's not a matter of being selfish. It's a matter of, if I don't do this efficiently, somebody will suffer. And so what I try to do is teach people how to think the way we think so they can go into a doctor's office, give a 1 to 2 minute elevator speech so the doctor can streamline the approach. Will not need to order all these tests and procedures done due to what we call it's a form of medicine. It's not really preventive medicine, but doctors are defending themselves. Defensive medicine costs billions of dollars each year because doctors don't want to miss anything. They don't want to be sued. And so when they're not sure, more tests and procedures, billions of dollars every year. And so by learning how to get to the point, go through what the algorithm, so to speak, that most doctors go through to understand what's going on. By the time you finish your last sentence, the doctor will have a short list of potential problems versus a long potential list. They told us that in medical school. I thought the doctor was a quack. I'm thinking, we have MRIs, we have all these things. How can you say that by the time the patient finishes the last sentence, we should know what's going on? It was right.
No,
Because
you
give
just hit on a
people,
couple things that I think are
yeah.
really powerful.
Uh-huh.
And I love that you said the elevator pitch because we think about that with our business. If you're going to sell something, you're a service provider. I talk about that. I run a podcast network and we teach people how to be guests on shows. And that's
Uh-huh.
one of the things we talk about, having your elevator pitch, knowing what get to the point, land the plane so everyone knows what you're talking about. If you're going in circles, you lose people. But I never really have considered having an elevator pitch for my own health. But there's another friend of mine that was on the show a year or so ago, and she suffers from Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, EDS. And it's rare enough that a lot of doctors don't see it frequently and they don't know a lot about it. So
Absolutely.
she talks about in that episode how she kind of became the expert on EDS, and she usually goes in and educates physicians
Mhm.
on it a little bit, but it's because she's got a concise elevator pitch. When she walks in, she knows exactly what to say and how to counter whatever their rebuttal might be, like, oh, it's not that. And she's like, no, I'm going to stop you because I've done ABC, I've done XYZ, I've been through this for years and years and years, and this is what I'm telling you, and this is what you need to listen to. And she cuts through all the noise really quickly. And that's something that I think a lot of people are either afraid to do or they don't know it's an option. Like when I go to for example, if I go to take my truck to go get worked on at the mechanic, I'm not going to go in and be like, well, it's this, this, and this, because I don't know. So I'm assuming
Uh-huh.
he's going to be on the up and up and tell me what the problem is. And that's sort of the equivalent with your body and your doctor. If you're just like, wide open, it's really broad, I just don't feel well. Well, that could be 9 million things. So now we got to go through this whole gauntlet instead of you saying, I have acute pain here, I have this in my medical history. These are things that I'm on the lookout for. Where do we start with this information? So I really love that that's something that you're teaching people because I think it's really underrated and it's something that people simply don't even know is an option.
Can I give you the foundation?
Please do.
Okay. And you made a good point. Basically, what the goal is imagine you're building a house and you lay out the foundation is cement. So when the workers come, they don't have to start from scratch. So I want to give you the foundation. For those of you who like the Cleveland Cavaliers, it'll be pretty easy. Remember CCL Stadium. So when you get sick, you think C, the character. Give me an adjective, burning, sharp, dull. C, the context. I developed back pain after I lifted heavy furniture. Doctor's not going to order an MRI looking for spine cancer. L, location, be specific. Don't say I have belly pain. You're right, you've got a lot of organs in there. I have pain in the upper right abdomen, the lower left abdomen. Be specific. So we have CCL, stadium. S, severity, scale of 0 to 10. 0, no pain. 10 is excruciating. Oh my gosh, I've got to get out of this pain. And then T, timing. Each time it occurs, it lasts seconds, minutes, hours, days. A is associated signs and symptoms. When I develop chest pain, I break out in a sweat. D is duration. How long have I endured the pain? That's not timing. I have endured it for 6 months, and each time it occurs, it lasts 5 minutes. And then I and U have nothing to do. They're part of the mnemonic. And the M is the modifying factors. When I have chest pain, I drink ginger ale, I belch, and I feel better. So CCL Stadium, when you have symptoms, start thinking of that mnemonic. So when you sit down and you talk to the doctor, you can explain your symptoms in a minute. And then he's not going to have to ask all these questions or continue to interrupt to get where you need to be.
I'm gonna have to write that acronym down because that's a long one. But I think it's really important to have those sort of things to help you remember what
Mhm.
you're supposed to talk about. And again, you're right. Just by giving those pieces of context, imagine how much time you'll save. Not only yours, but to that doctor who's now got to go see 24 more patients after you, who's going, look, I really want to help you, but if I don't know what's going on, we're going to be going round and round for quite a while. So if you go, yeah, my upper body hurts, well, that narrows it down. So there's a lot of things going on in here. So we got to get to the point. And I think that's really important. So part of Impatient Empowerment 101 is going over these frameworks. But what would you tell somebody that's like you're having coffee with? If we were, we're old lifelong friends, we went to high school together.
Mhm.
I run into Dr. Ann, haven't seen you in years. I would love to hear what you're doing. What's something you tell your close inner circle? Here's what you need to start doing to make sure you're the healthiest you can be for as long as possible.
That goes to my lifestyle medicine hat. And so I went back and got board certified lifestyle medicine as well. And food is at the top of the pyramid. A whole food plant predominant diet. I'm not saying that you can't eat chicken breast or anything, but most of your food should be filled with colorful fruits, vegetables, nuts, whole grains, and so forth. And that diet has the potential to decrease some of the blockage that's already in your arteries and your heart that can lead to a heart attack one day. It can decrease the progression of dementia. It can decrease your risk of multiple cancers. And so a whole food plant predominant diet, just think of it as a puzzle. If you had a puzzle with lots of different pieces and somebody told you to put it together, but they only gave you the outside pieces, you can't put it together. So you need different colors. You need greens, oranges, reds, yellows, all of these different fruits and vegetables. The colors stand for something. And if you only eat green vegetables, you only eat red fruit. And you say, well, I've had 5 servings of fruits and vegetables, and they were all red, red types of fruit. That's not what it means. All of these things need to act together synergistically. You may have this cancer fighting nutrient here, this that helps decrease osteoporosis here. All of these things work together. And so I would say focus on a whole food plant predominant diet. And when you eat meat, look at the healthy meat. Don't get the fried chicken and so forth. So that's what I would,
Ah,
and I could tell them one thing it would be focus on your diet.
the fried chicken is so good though, Dr. Ann. But I get it,
Other try it.
in
I got an air
moderation.
fryer.
Yeah, there you go. You can do it a more healthy way.
There
So
you go.
here's a question I know you probably get. Well, maybe I don't like eating fruits and vegetables. Can I take a supplement to counteract or to fill in the gaps? Now, me personally, I love fruits and vegetables, so it's no problem for me. But I know that supplements are also a big talking point when it comes to holistic health. So is that something you advocate for, against? Are you neutral, or is it sort of case by case?
I would say if you absolutely refuse to do the fresh fruits and vegetables, even realizing that they can decrease your risk of dementia, cancer, heart disease, and so forth. If you go in with full knowledge, I'm willing to accept this health risk because I don't like that on my palate, then I say yes. I would go for the supplements because I'd rather you have something than nothing. But that being said, think about your flavors, the flavors that you like. So my daughter, my teenage daughter, she got me to eating seaweed. Like it's teriyaki. Ooh, that tastes good. So I will buy it on my own without her asking now. She got me eating Brussels sprouts, which for decades I never tried. I'm like, these look weird. I just refuse. But I chopped them up. I put some olive oil on them and some Italian seasoning, put them in the oven. And that's a staple in my household. Now, cauliflower, like, no way. Most of my life, even in grade school, it looks weird. I only started eating cauliflower a few months ago because I went to a medical conference and they prepared it in such a way. It was like buffalo cauliflower. It's like it was air fried, and it tasted so good. I have cauliflower in my refrigerator now. So before you say, I don't like these things, what do you like? What can you do to like these things? Go to ChatGPT, put in your favorite flavors. I like cinnamon. I like nutmeg. I like XYZ, but I don't like this. Give me a recipe. And then the next thing you know, you'll have a recipe that you can try that has all the flavors that you love, and you won't even notice that maybe you don't care for that vegetable on its own. But when it is prepared that way, maybe it's the best thing you've had in ages. And that's what I've learned in the past couple of years.
Yeah, there is definitely truth to that. My wife is a phenomenal cook, and if we were to make the same dish side by side, I wouldn't eat mine, but hers I
Mhm.
can't get enough of, and she cooks healthy and she does things that are she'll do good substitutes for things like if you're making lasagna instead of using, like flour, noodles, she'll do something
Mhm.
like a palm heart. Or, if you want to do
Yeah,
cauliflower, do a cauliflowered rice. You can do those and the way you chop it up and the seasoning you put into it and the way you prepare it
mhm.
can be a game changer for a flavor palette, especially if you have like a
Yeah,
little kid palate, like, I just want to eat the tasty stuff and not the healthy stuff. Sometimes a little TLC to your recipes can go a long way for sure.
absolutely.
So I'm curious what your thoughts are on sort of the future of healthcare. Obviously, with AI coming into play, since we talked ChatGPT, they're, always working on solving problems, going through all the medical books and studies and the way the technology is being integrated into healthcare right now. There's definitely going to be changes in the way that we interact with our healthcare system. I think it's pretty evident that, you know, the old traditional ways of you go, you sit in the lobby, you wait there for hours, you see the nurse, you get checked in, you get 30 seconds of the doctor's time, they give you a bunch of pills, you leave. That's sort of dying in the system that I see.
Mhm.
So what do you foresee the future of technology with healthcare, and how will that improve or, sort of not improve our current way of doing things?
First of all, I say be wary of technology if that's all you're going to do. You don't want to do that. You still need a human brain. I think technology is going to go a long way. Actually, right now I'm working on multiple AI-powered coaching apps that combine, and they're going to be um, out next month, the end of next month. But it's a combination of my audio and video files plus papers, PDFs, and all sorts of things. And so AI is using the content I give it to ask questions, to give them motivational things. And so when you put those things together, the potential is huge. And it's one thing to give a person information. You can read a book. That doesn't mean that you're going to do anything it says. The good thing that I really like about these AI coaching apps I'm working on is that they're personalized. So you go through the onboarding and you have to ask a series of questions. And so it gets to know you. And then so when it's giving you information, it may use this PDF file to um, give you information and ask you questions. It may use this video file, what's important to you. And based on how you respond, then that may be what you get next. And so the ability to personalize your health journey is huge. I'm extremely excited about this opportunity. On the other hand, I told you I was in a medical conference earlier. So lifestyle medicine is taking off like wildfire. It's like in 57 countries now. And I was at an international lifestyle medicine conference remote earlier this morning. And the goal, a lot of doctors around the world are saying, this is craziness. We're giving a band-aid to these diseases. Why don't we focus on what we already know can help prevent them? And so that is really taking off. And I'm super excited that people are realizing we don't have to wait till people get diseases. We can empower them not to get the diseases, or at least not to need as much medicine because of the choices that they make. So I'm really excited about the future. But I do have to say, we're looking at a huge shortfall of physicians. The last time I checked, I think the American Association of Medical Colleges predicted maybe 88,000 doctors short in the coming years, maybe 34, like 2034, 2036 or so. So just imagine if in your state you're short 2,000 doctors. You get sick. When are you going to get in to see the doctor?
Yeah.
And that's not even talking about the cost of healthcare. And so this has to be a concerted effort of everyone. Yes, I want the best health for me and my family. Yes, I want to prevent and potentially reverse diseases as many as possible along with my doctor naturally. No, I don't want to spend half of my retirement on medical bills or half of my life after 50 in the hospital. It has to be a mindset shift. The information is out there to make a huge shift, but people have to be willing to take those steps.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, and I think there's a lot of gems of truth that you just dropped. And in one, I want to go back to your coaching, AI application. That's sort of what I was sort of hinting at. I think a lot of the future of medicine is going to be geared around more personalized medical treatment instead
Yes.
of this more cookie cutter generic, hey, you're a man and you're over 40, let's check for these 10 things, right? Everyone's got a little different background, different history, different family genetics, heredity. So
Mhm.
those things are really paramount when you're trying to diagnose what might be going on with you. So I love the personalization aspect of that. I think it's very powerful. And I truly think that's what something like AI can shine and
Mhm.
really be a beacon of light for people advocating for themselves. But that also leads me, the healthier and the longer we go, and the lifestyle medicine comes in and it helps us be less sick or need less intervention. That is sort of the catch 22 of the medical profession because these hospitals are businesses. They might have doctors in them, but they're run by bureaucrats and business people. And if they're getting you so healthy, you never have to come back. That is not a great business plan. So there's always this dynamic of we got to keep you healthy enough, but still reliant enough that you're going to keep coming back to see us. Maybe that's part of the doctor shortage. Hard to say, hard to speculate, but I really would like to learn because we've talked about this multiple times in our interview today about lifestyle medicine. What are the main pillars of lifestyle medicine outside of just food? We know that's the top dog. What you're putting in your body is number one. What are the other areas that really are an area of focus in lifestyle medicine?
Number two, meaningful movement. You don't have to go to a gym. You don't have to run a marathon. The national guideline is 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity activity, like 3 miles an hour. So if you're walking with your friend, you can talk, but you can't sing. Or 75 minutes a week of vigorous activity. So you're jogging. You can't talk or sing, or some combination of the two, plus 2 to 3 days of resistance/strength training. When you start, you need to start slowly. If you've been a couch potato, don't get out and try to run 5 miles. You can hurt yourself. And if you have a chronic condition, talk to your doctor to get some input. If you're 20 years old, you're not at as much of a risk, but just use your common sense and listen to your body. If you do half of that, that's still so much better than doing none of it. So don't consider yourself a failure if you cannot get up to 150 minutes a week in the next 2 or 3 months. Anything you do is better than doing nothing. Sitting is the new smoking. If you sit for long periods of time, even if you play tennis 5 days a week, you still have a lower life expectancy. And a lot of people don't realize that. They think because they're active, they can afford the weekend binges where they just lie around and do nothing. No, you can't. The next one is connections. Meaningful connections matter. Those love connections make your body release a hormone called oxytocin. We call it the love hormone. Oxytocin helps counterbalance cortisol, which is your body's main stress hormone that's associated with everything from diabetes, chronic diseases, other chronic diseases, cancer, so forth. And then we get down to stress. Stress can completely destroy your life. Let me give you the tip of the iceberg. You can do an MRI on a person and they put them through chronic stress. Repeat the MRI, and what you'll find after the chronic stress. It's the prefrontal cortex, the brain CEO for higher cortical functioning, is smaller. The hippocampus, which deals with your memory, is smaller. The amygdala, which deals with your anxiety, is bigger. And so chronic stress, literally, it doesn't just rewire the brain, it changes the volume of the important parts of your brain. So we don't have the time to go through everything chronic stress does, but just think you want a functioning brain. And if chronic stress is literally going to rewire and shrink the important parts of your brain, you need to mitigate it. And then we have sleep. When you sleep, there's a system of the body called the lymphatic system that basically sweeps away all the toxins around your central nervous system, your brain, and spinal cord. And when you don't sleep, you forgo that. Lack of sleep messes up your hormone balance. Your hunger hormones, for instance, get off balance. And the ghrelin that makes you say, that tells your body, I'm hungry. It is an overdrive with a leptin that says, I'm full. It's not really clicking much. And so the balance, you're eating when you don't need it because your hunger hormones are off because you didn't sleep. And then we have toxin avoidance. So we know alcohol and tobacco, we know that they're toxins. But what a lot of people don't realize is for a woman, even one drink a day can increase the risk of breast cancer. And alcohol can impact your heart function, give you what we call heart failure, impact your blood pressure and so forth. But taking it a step further, your skin is your biggest organ. So every morning you get up and you lather on, this soap that you don't really know the chemicals that are in it. They're getting absorbed into your skin. You put on lotion with chemicals that you cannot even pronounce. Then you use all these detergents to clean your home, getting absorbed in your skin, getting absorbed through the nasal mucosa because you're smelling it. There are toxins all around, plus the pesticides and herbicides in the foods we eat. And so those are the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. And it's not 1 + 1, blah, 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 equals 6. As you add all these together, it's like 200. Because if you sleep well, you're going to be in a better position to want to go and exercise. And if you exercise, then you're going to be in a better position to drop those extra pounds and decrease your insulin resistance and live longer and decrease your risk of cancer. And so you're exercising and then you have less sleep, less stress. And so your brain shrinkage, that changes. And then you're eating a whole food plant-based diet, which elevates your mood. So you want to go exercise. So all of these things are working together to improve your mental, emotional, and physical well-being and your longevity.
I love it. Yeah, think of it like compounding interest, right? One
Absolutely.
of these feeds into the other, and all of a sudden it's not 1 to 1 to 1, it's 1 to many. And the benefits
Absolutely.
of one area will start to compound into other areas of your life. And that's one thing that I've really been focusing a lot on, is sleep. I didn't realize how valuable sleep was, but even if you're doing like a heavy exercise routine or you're trying to be a bodybuilder, the biggest part of getting big and buff and super physically fit, it's not the lifting, it's part of that. It's not just the eating, it's the recovery phase. The
The
recovery is
restoration.
where the magic
Mhm.
happens. You look at a
Yeah.
guy like Mike Menser, who was a huge bodybuilder in the 70s and 80s. He worked out like 2 times a week and he worked out for like 15, 20 minutes at a time. Really short burst of workout. He just went very extreme in the moment and then he focused 100% on recovery. And he looked like, the Arnold Schwarzenegger competitor guy. He was huge, but his whole lifestyle was based off recovery and sleep. So there's definitely a lot of truth to that. And, something that's new to me, but I like sleep. So I'm all for getting better at doing that. So
Sounds
Dr.
good.
Ann, I got a couple of questions for you. We're going to put you in the hot seat, do a little rapid fire from your
Okay.
background, sort of what you work on, and just a few questions that I'm sure you get asked all the time. But number one, what's one thing every patient should start doing immediately?
Learn how to be the center of their own healthcare team and communicate with physicians on a higher level.
One thing patients should stop doing.
going into the doctor's office expecting him to fix everything if you're not doing your part.
Love that one. Most misunderstood part of current healthcare.
That pills can fix your life when you're not doing what you need to do, and that when you take these pills, you're going to live just as long if you keep doing the bad things as you would without the pills doing the right things.
Very true. And the final one that I was always curious to hear about, what's a good way to build trust with your doctor? Because a lot of times we don't trust those people because we know they're smart, but do they really have our best interests at heart?
Honestly, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And so pay attention to the rapport. Is your doctor talking to you, looking at you, looking into your eyes, or is the doctor always on the computer? The tone, how interested does the doctor appear to be in you personally? And so read the cues right and left to understand if that doctor is really in your best interest. And if not, it's okay. You can find another doctor. But don't assume because that doctor is on the list that your insurance company has that this is the doctor for you. He may have all these degrees, all these accolades, and he may be horrible with bedside manner and not able to communicate to you.
Yeah, very true. And I love that. And that really goes for any profession. You're going to find the people that you can tell really want to connect with you and do the right thing. And it doesn't mean that a doctor who maybe isn't as personable is a bad individual or doesn't want your health to be better. Some people just don't communicate well and they don't have that human side of things. But it is important to find somebody that you do feel comfortable with and that you're feeling that you can open up and share what's going on, because that's how
Mhm.
you're going to get to the bottom. That's how you're going to solve the problems and sort of get on to a better path for your own health. So, Dr. Ann, it's been great hearing and learning from you. People can find you at patientempowerment101.com. We're now being told that there is an AI coaching app in the works. What's the timeline on that?
Well, the coaching app is going to launch April the 28th. And my main website is ptrreset.com, prevent, treat, reverse, ptrreset.com. Patient Empowerment 101.com is just about the book, but on ptrreset.com, there's actually a Patient Empowerment 101 masterclass where I hire some actors and actresses to role play. And then it also has the pillars of lifestyle medicine. And on that site, I'm going to have more information coming up soon. The app is going to be on studio.com and it's going to launch April the 28th. And there are going to actually be several of them.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, once those are available, I'll be happy to post those as well. Again,
Thank
that
you.
is ptrreset.com. That's the main site. And then check out
Yes.
that book, patientempowerment101.com. Really excited to get my hands on a copy of that. Definitely, I think this is something that we need to shine a light on more because it's, it doesn't matter white or black, young or old, man or woman. We all get sick. We all have health problems that we have to deal with. So being the best advocate for yourself is something that is extremely important. And it's something that a lot of people are either uninformed about, afraid to deal with, or sort of the
Mhm.
ostrich head in the sand. Like, I don't want to know what's wrong with me, so I avoid it at all costs. Do not do
Yes.
that. There's so many things that you can catch early and prevent long-term headaches or an early demise simply by being proactive and advocating for yourself. So I love learning from what you shared with us today. Very, very insightful, and can't wait to see those
Yeah.
apps when they come out and continue the collaboration from here.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Everybody, this has been Dr. Ann, and she is with us from patientempowerment101.com and ptrreset.com. Truly appreciate you coming on to the Measuring Post, and can't wait to see where we go from here.